Welcome friends, it's Ray. Thank you so much for joining me today. In today's video, I am creating a card using the Create It With Joy Shark Week card kit. And you may be familiar, Joy Baldwin, Create It With Joy, came out with a kit this year for Shark Week. I will be sure to link to her YouTube where she has created several cards using this kit. So in the kit, there is an 8x11 sheet of cardstock. There is a turquoise background sheet, or turquoise half sheet, I should say. This is Mars green, this is turquoise. And then there are some smaller pieces for making a shaker card. So there's an A2 size turquoise and the window, and a piece of acetate to back the window. And then this large clear stamp set with some beautiful shark images. They are just adorable. So I know I'm gonna have fun with that. And then Belle Rose, Marisha Dean, makes sequins, and so she came out or sponsored Joy's kit with these beautiful sequins. Let me just put them in my little bead tray, or some of them, so you can see them better. Oh, so cute. Look at that. Look at that. It has little dolphins or whales, fish, all of these little cute bits, fins, shells. Oh, that is adorable. Can't wait to make a shaker with that. Stars. Really nice. And then, of course, a high chew. I guess that's a pun on sharks, right? So cute. So, let me see what I can make with this kit. Stay tuned. I'm starting with my background and a Hero Arts Waves stencil. I'm using purple tape to tape my stencil to my card stock. Just putting a few pieces on the side and then one at the top. This is old. Let me see. Yeah, that's gonna work. And just taping it to my mat. So I did, off camera, wipe off the surface of my brush quite a few times to just get as much of the leftover color off as possible, although it was a blue. I'm bringing in my Salty Ocean Distress Oxides because they blend so smoothly, so applying it is very easy. I'm just applying it to the bottom, maybe half of my stencil, going up a little higher than half at this point. Not sure. I guess I could blend the whole thing. I know that I want to trim this down on the top portion. I just don't know how far at the moment, so I think I'm going to go up a little more than half, so that wherever I decide to cut is going to work for my card. Okay, let me see. I think that's gonna be enough. Let me just lift that. I'm gonna keep the top taped, right? So that if I missed a spot, I can go back. All right, that's good. That's good. All right, so now let me go ahead and remove this stencil. And then, of course, I want to wash that because this is water reactive ink. I'm not in such a hurry to get it washed as if I had used dye, ink, glitters, or paste, you know, stuff that is more permanent and fixed. All right, so here I'm just blending over the entire inked surface with the ink that's already on my blending brush to just kind of tone down the white. These sharks in the stamp set are so adorable. It's hard to choose which one I want to use for this card. I landed on this cute little guy and am using my VersaFine Onyx Black ink. I prepped my panel for heat embossing with my anti-static powder tool and stamping several times with my black ink and until I get the impression that I want. Next, I bring in clear embossing ink by Simon Says Stamps and my dry paintbrush, and I remove unwanted embossing powder in a few areas with it. And for heat embossing, I usually just use some copy paper, either old or new, and write the name on it so that I can reuse it and I don't cross-contaminate, because I know what I've used with which piece of paper, and I just reuse them over and over. And then I bring in my heat tool and melt my embossing powder. So now I'm going to bring in my Spectrum Noir brush markers, the Ice Gray blend. I will color my shark with that. The green turquoise blend. Let me see, I'm thinking. Because I think instead of my green turquoise blend, I'm going to bring in blue. I think that'll go better. So I'm going to bring in my blue turquoise blend to go better with my ocean water, and then my purple blend. That's what I'll do. All right, so I have been practicing my coloring. If you've been following my channel for a while, you know that I am a beginner when it comes to coloring, but I keep practicing, hopefully getting better. What I'm doing with my Ice Gray blend on my Spectrum Noir marker, and this is an alcohol marker, I am actually just going to color my shark, all of his body, with my lightest color of this gray, ice gray. And there are many ways to do this. This is just what I like to do, is start out with my lightest color. And because I'm a beginner, I find that this is a little more forgiving for me, because if you put something down that's too dark, you can't take it away. So I start light. I've seen coloring done many different ways. And if you colored as a kid, and I did in my coloring book, one of the things I got great joy out of, as I learned that it was important, was coloring in staying inside of the lines. So I could do that very well in my coloring book. That has been a while. But that's what I'm trying to get to here with my markers, the ability to stay within the lines. However, I go outside of the lines often, and will show you what I do to fix that. So here I brought my mid-tone gray in, and we'll do that around the top of his head and blend that in with my lightest gray. And the thing I like about these Spectrum Noir markers is that it takes a lot of the guesswork out for me. I immediately know what is lightest and what is medium. And so then I can work with those colors. As I've been practicing, I'm finding that those are my two go-to colors, the light and the medium, versus the dark, which oftentimes I mess up with. Bringing in the medium here and just going around his mouth. Then again, gonna bring in my light to blend that out. My light. So I did that with my medium, the outline, and now coming in with my light to blend that out. And I am really heavy-handed, and the thing I've got to practice on now is drawing my outlines a lot lighter. Or thinner, that's what I'm trying to say, so that I don't have as much blending to do. But I gotta practice on that. But let me know in the comments if you use your alcohol markers and if you have any tips or tricks you use to really get a nice blend, or to not have, or to be able to blend out these dark lines around when you bring those in. Because that's kind of one of those things that's important to me. So I've got to work on that. That looks pretty good. Okay, so now to his tail, we'll bring in the medium just to outline. And I'm not going to worry about the bottom that's on the water. Well, just kidding. My hand moved quicker than my brain on that. So brought in my medium to outline my tail. Now I'm coming back with the light marker. To blend that out. And again, I'm very heavy-handed, and I try so hard not to be, but I have been that way since forever. Okay, and blending out my medium tone on my tail. All right, I think that's pretty good. Oh, I forgot his body. So let me go in to the rest of his body. Did his head. Trying to go thin here. This is a brush marker. I haven't used my Ohuhu bullet nibs in a while. Maybe the bullet nibs make it easier. I don't know, but I went as thin as I could go there while I was thinking about it. So now let me just use the light to blend this out. Although this is taking me a while, this is very easy coloring on these images because they're large. They're not tiny. And but they're not too large. You don't have too much real estate, as they say, to cover. But you have enough to make a very pretty image. And I love these shark designs Joy has in this year's shark kit. They are just the cutest. Okay, now let's go to his swim buddy there. And I am going to go purple for the main tube. and bring in, okay, so starting with my lightest purple and bringing that around. So I think I'm going to try something a little different on this, in that I've outlined with my light color, and then I'm going to come back in with my medium. Let me see how that looks. Hopefully I don't mess up anything because I didn't practice this. But I want more purple than I saw with my light color. Yeah. Okay. That's what happens in crafting. Often we have a thought change or a visual change. It's like, wait a minute. I started one way, but this is going to end in a different way. So that's what I'm doing here. I picked purple and blue because I know those colors mix pretty well. So if I get some blues, when I start using my blue, if I get a blue mix in with my purple, it's going to be okay. So coloring inside the bubbles with my purple shouldn't be that big of a deal. So that was my thought process here. Okay, so though I have colored outside of some lines here, but again, I think my design is pretty forgiving in the color choices. All right, so we're going to bring in this true blue turquoise. I'm going to start with the medium for my, well, no, I better start light. Start with the light, and wherever I got some purple, I'm not too concerned. They mix well together. Yay! And bringing in just the lightest color then on this turquoise, blue turquoise blend. Oops, did I bump the camera there with my glasses? Probably. Okay. So again, this is going very quickly. Looks like I need to touch up a little pink here. But let me finish my blue turquoise blend. And I'm going to just go in on any areas that I see purple for sure and bring in my medium color. Okay, then I'll come back in with the light and blend that a little. But just going in with my medium. And not going to use the dark at all. Staying away from the heavier colors unless I really know, that I need them to darken something. Just going with my two. All right, so blending out my turquoise. That looks good. Yeah. Okay. Happy with that. Let me just bring in my purple blend again. My medium. And right in here is where I left a little too much pink for me. Okay. All right. Okay. Just touching that up. And now what I'm going to do is bring in my white gel pen. Make sure this is white. Oh, that one looks silver. I really need to mark these because okay, let me test it out. Tell you what, let me test that out on a scrap piece of paper. I can't tell. Okay, so bring in this scrap. still can't tell what's going on. Okay, this one looks white. So when I color outside of the lines, I will just come in, I don't know if you can see that, right up here. I'm going to color that in, and then right around here. I think those are my main areas. Just color, go around that edge with my white gel pen to clean it up. And this purple is kind of dark, so I might have to do it twice on that. But I have to let it dry. Let me just try and dot it on. But if you have to do it more than once, you do need to let it dry. Unlike Ray here, who wants to keep moving, right? Okay, yeah. I'm going to have to let that dry and come back in. So we'll do that. All right, so we'll set this aside to dry. And now I'm going to start working on more of my card. Okay, so with my waves background, I am just going to trim along this curve with my scissors. And I'm just going in between the lines of the stencil, and then I decide I want to cut this right side down a little bit more. So that's what I'm doing here. I am making a 5x7 card, so I trim a white piece of cardstock to 4 3/4 by 6 3/4 and trim my waves panel down to 4 3/8 inch wide. I trim off the bottom of my waves panel so that it ends up being about 3 3/4 tall when I'm done trimming. So cut a third piece of white cardstock to 4 3/8 wide by 6 3/8, and then I am going to affix my waves panel to that third piece of cardstock. And here I'm bringing in that 4 3/4 by 6 3/4 white cardstock and blending just around the borders with my Distress Oxide ink. I'm going pretty heavy. I am not worried about, just doing a really perfect blend. This is a rough blend, but I do want adequate coverage around the entire perimeter. Now on my smaller white piece of cardstock that's 4 3/8 by 6 3/8, I am bringing in my Distress Oxide ink in Tumbled Glass. Since it's lighter, I want a lighter sky for this one. As I'm blending, I'm seeing that this is much darker than I want because I didn't clean my brush well. I rotate my cardstock and use the other side with, of course, the lighter Tumbled Glass. So that's more of the color I was looking for, and so as I blend that in, I leave a circle area on the right for my sun. I'm bringing in Wild Honey Distress Oxide ink for my sun and just wanting to add a soft glow. Now blue and yellow make green, so I don't want a green sun, which is also why I decided to go with this darker Wild Honey. Alright, so that's just a hint of a sun. I think that's all I need. So here, I'm placing the die almost at the end. because I'm going to mask off the word day, and the closer to the end, the less masking I have to do. I use my anti-static powder tool and then bring in a piece of post-it note tape to mask off the right side of this stamp, and then stamp it with Versamark embossing ink. I bring in another scrap piece of black cardstock and a happy birthday sentiment from a different set and mask off the word happy because I just want to stamp the birthday. Now that I have both sentiments stamped, I'm bringing in my alabaster white embossing powder, and we'll go ahead and apply that. Use my dry paintbrush to erase any unwanted or stray embossing powder, and then I will go ahead and heat set both with my heat tool. I'm putting foam tape on the back of my shark, and I am going to just trim off this little edge, which I think is water. Yeah. And I did not fussy cut him. I cut him out with my scan and cut and left a small border. I added his sunglasses off camera. Here I'm using some liquid glue to affix my waves panel to the main panel, and we'll let that set underneath the acrylic block while I work on my sentiments. I trim off the bottom and top of my sentiments, leaving about 1/8 of an inch on top and bottom sides of each sentiment. Okay, now I am going to bring in my shark and my sentiments. Let's see, I want to put him right about there. He's riding the wave. I decide to cut my first sentiment after the A, have A, so that I have 3 different sentiment strips and I can place them on my waves in a whimsy manner. These are so cute. Hey, got to use this pretty sequence that's in the kit by Bell Rose. Cute fish. Oh, those are just adorable. We are definitely putting some of those over here. Oh, they are so cute. Marisha. They are adorable. And I think they're double-sided. Yes, they are. Because, you know, I'm getting carried away with this beautiful sequence. Now that I have all of my sequins picked out, I will go ahead and commit this using my Ranger Multimedia Matte Glue and my jewel picker. So I ended up with 5 fish and some clear bubbles and 1 shell that I placed right above the word birthday. This is so cute. It's like a sea of sequins. I am partially releasing the release tape or release paper from my tape on my focal image, adding a little liquid glue to those exposed areas, and then going ahead and affixing this to my larger cardstock with the salty ocean border, and then remove that release paper once I get everything lined up the way I want. And then here I'm trimming down the sides just to even them up a bit. I use the same method to affix my panel to my card base. Okay, so normally I would put part of my sentiment in my sky. I didn't do that this time, so to me, my sky looks a little plain. So I'm just going to bring in these birds from my stash and put those in my sky. I'm using some Hero Arts Intense Black ink to do this. Oh, yes. That is what I needed. I needed just a little bit of something to balance out my design. These birds are just the thing. I did go ahead and stamp a birthday sentiment on the inside. And that's it for this card. Let me know in the comments if I should have masked off that sun. I mean, I've got a big burst there. I like it, it's organic. It could have been a little smaller, so maybe next time I will mask off. What do you think? As always, thank you so much for joining me today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time, good day, friends.